going to be able to make it. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Florida Auctioneers Association member call. So glad that everybody could be on. My name is Craig Fleming. I'm going to be your host for this afternoon. We're joined by our president, Rick Eberhardt, and many members of the board of directors. So glad that everybody could be on. This kind of came about in a pretty fast fashion. I got an email, Robert and I, Rick and I and Angela, I guess the other day, from Alan Frankel. And he said, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could do a quick Zoom call, kind of get everybody on the call? And I thought, gosh, that sounded like a pretty good idea. So I put together a fast agenda, and we got it out within about a half an hour. So sometimes we really can move pretty darn quick. So kind of goes without saying, this shelter in place has caused a lot of concern for a lot of people, and we don't want to underestimate what that means for the entire nation and 151 countries, I guess. So everybody's going through this the same, and so glad that all of you could be on the call today.
Hey, Craig, this is Alan Frankel. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I'm glad to have you on.
Thank you. I'm so sorry to get in here late, but I'm glad I can make it.
Perfect. I'm going to make sure we got everybody muted, and then I'll let people undo themselves.
This is Frank T.
We've got to stay together. I mean, it's one of the things that we've got to be able to do, and that's one of the reasons for the call today. This is going to be kind of an open call. I wanted to kind of start off and just cover a few things. First of all, we're not attorneys on this call, so we're not giving anybody legal advice or anything like that. But it's kind of time to pivot. I guess that's the one word that I've heard over the last 2 or 3 days, and I've been on let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my 5th Zoom call. 4 of them have actually happened today. So it looks like auctioneers all over the country are doing these calls, and some of them have just been, outstanding calls. Yesterday, we had the NAA call with Hannes and our president, Jason Winters. That was a really good call, kind of Q&A, giving us an overview of what's going on in the industry. This afternoon, NAA had another call that I think all of these were recorded, I believe. You may be able to access those a little bit later on. But Scott Robinson and Misty Markham were on. They had a really good call, lasted about an hour. And so lots of good things around holding and hosting and the challenging elements of a benefit auction. So just, an hour worth of really great ideas on how do we handle the benefit auction, and we're going to try to talk about a little bit some of those things today. I just finished the last call, at least from my perspective. We had 128 people on the call. This one was the pandemic business strategy discussion. This was a call that was put together by Bridget Cruz out in California, I believe is where she's from. And it is still going on. I think it was going to be potentially a 2-hour call. So anyway, just lots of information out there that you can all access if you want it. I'm glad you're here with us today because we're going to talk about some pretty positive things. I'm going to show you real quick something that I think Rick Eberhardt has put up on our, just see if I can find it here. I think he's put it up on our Facebook page and our members only page. If you're not a member of the Florida Auctioneers member group, you can find that group on Facebook. Just go. You have to kind of request access to it, but we'd love to have you in there. We try to put everything we possibly can up there to give you some increased value along the way. But this is if you can see my screen, and hopefully you can, this is a helpful resource center that the National Auctioneers Association has put together. The first article is kind of the state of the auction industry among COVID-19. So really good review. this telework for auctioneers, I'm telling you, absolutely one of the best videos from Chris and Eric Rasmus. I mean, oh my gosh, those guys they've got a phenomenal business that's going on in that New York, Baltimore area, I guess. And, I've been following Chris and his team for years. It's a video, it's about 15, 16 minutes long, but it talks about everything from, booking sales to using all the different new tools that are out there from an electronic perspective, being able to run your business. So we're going to put this link up. You're going to be able to watch those videos, and you'll find it at the FAA website as well as in our Facebook group. So getting started with online auctions quickly. Mike Fisher does a phenomenal job. Some additional resources there for you. How to use Sign Up Genius to schedule your loadouts. If you haven't used any of these tools, they're phenomenal for especially reviews, loadouts, visitations, everything you need to kind of schedule customers to come in and take a look and view the merchandise. So this is a great tool that you can use. How will the COVID-19 virus affect future auctions? Again, pretty darn good resource. Business Resource Hub, fundraising during a pandemic, really good information. Slack, keep the company connected. And we've got 3 or 4 other things in terms of just general information. One is the live presentation from Jason yesterday. And you can see the rest of those. So when this call is over, feel free to jump in, grab that, and start clicking on those links. Again, it's going to be on our webpage at FAA as well as in our Facebook group. So hopefully you can jump in and grab those.
We're going to keep it in that closet.
Really helpful. Hey, Woody, can you mute yourself? Looks like you're unmuted there. Bottom left-hand corner, just mute yourself real quick. Lots of other things. I mean, most of you have probably seen this already. I'll just hold it up. This is the state of the auction industry among COVID-19. You guys have probably already seen this, but this is a 10 or 15 page report that the National Auctioneers Association just put out, and it goes into depth in terms of the current survey of all auctioneers around the United States, kind of where we're at. Lots of charts and graphs, and can help you hopefully in your business as we move forward. So here's what I know. And I'm just going to give you my thoughts, and then we're going to open this up and kind of go around the table here, so to speak, and get some of your thoughts and ideas. But here's what I know. Auctioneers are going to be in great demand. I mean, as this thing unfolds, whether it's 30 days or 60 days or 90 days or 6 months, auctioneers are going to be in great demand. People need to turn assets into cash. Nobody can do that quicker and faster than you can. Our accelerated method of marketing has never been more prevalent and relevant than it is right now. So I saw statistics the other day, over 3 million people filed for unemployment. So that means a lot. If you start figuring out what's around the corner, how can we pivot our business, what's coming up, you got to kind of think ahead about where all this stuff is heading. So all of a sudden now you got 3 million people that are on unemployment. That means bankruptcies are going to happen. People are going to need to turn assets into cash. We can help. People are going to lose their homes, unfortunately, from all of this. I mean, it's just going to happen. So how do we help ease that burden? Auctioneers in a real estate business can help make that happen. Small businesses are closing all over the place. I just hate it. I help a lot of small entrepreneurs build their businesses. And some of these businesses, they're just not going to make it. They're going to have a lot of assets that need to get turned into cash quick. So you need to be there for them, and we can help. I mean, look at the restaurant industry. Oh my goodness, I would not want to be in the restaurant industry right now. there's a lot of equipment that's going to have to be sold. And where are they going to turn? How are they going to turn that into cash quickly? Wow, auctioneers have got a huge opportunity right there. I can tell you, and I'm in Orlando, Florida, in Miami, Broward County, they sold more guns in the last 2 weeks than they did in like the last 6 months. Gun auctions are going to be huge. So, take that for whatever it's worth, but gun auctions are going to be hot. Farmers and ranchers are going to be hurt by this. There's going to be real estate to be sold. There's going to be personal property that needs to be sold. I mean, look around the corner, 5 months, 4 months, this thing is going to be explosive. Real estate auctions are going to continue to happen, of course. Now's the time to play offense. Don't be playing defense. Now's the time to get out there, to get your brand out in front, to make those phone calls. If you haven't talked to your banker in a little while, now's a good time to re-engage, with your local banker. I mean, who do we go and call? We're talking to bankers, we're talking to lawyers, we're talking to accountants, we're talking to morticians, we're talking to our real estate associations. Now's the time to get out there and be aggressive and really go after this thing. Don't be playing defense. Right now is the time for an entrepreneur to really start building the foundation to make this thing really big coming out on the other side. Get involved in social media. And I know social media is something new that we're not all that familiar with, but get out there. You've got to get your name out there, and you got to let people know that you're available to help them. My father was in the auction business, as most of you know, for 50 years. He was the most trusted man in our local community. And people went to him when they had challenges, all kinds of problems. They needed cash. It was a divorce. I mean, those things aren't going to stop. So you've got to be that trusted person. And it's easy to do. I mean, you just got to put yourself out there. Learn to tell your story and learn to tell it really well. And learn to tell it within 1 to 2 minutes as quick as you possibly can. Be that person of hope. Be that person who's stepping up into a leadership position within your community, and don't forget, the old grassroots way of getting your name out there still works. It doesn't have to all be social media. You just got to be a good entrepreneur. I look back and I look at the school system that we have right now. I mean, our school systems are like a factory for employees. That's what they do. They teach people what to do, where to go, what to say, and when to do it. Well, entrepreneurs aren't very good at being told what to do, when to do it, where to go. I mean, we just aren't. We're just kind of the mavericks, and we're just, we're out of the box type thinkers, and we do things, sometimes ask permission afterwards. So, hopefully that you're a strong entrepreneur, you're on this call, and you love the auction business like I do. And now's the time to be the person of hope and go out there and help a whole bunch of people. You just got to get ready. Take this time to be with your family. Take this time to kind of, regroup. Make sure that you've got heavy communications with your employees. If you have employees, your independent contractors, make sure you're staying in touch with your clients, with your sellers, and with your buyers. You haven't gone away. I mean, they're in their house. They don't have anything else to do. I'm doing conference calls almost every single night. When I used to have 20 or 25 people on a conference call, now I have 150 to 200 people that are jumping on these conference calls. People are looking for things to do. So jump on a Zoom. I mean, Zoom is free. You can set up a Zoom account and you can start talking to people. So be that person of hope. So with that, I'm going to start getting back into the agenda as we kind of set it out, and we're going to kind of jump around a little bit. But and I know several of you have been on some of these benefit auction calls. Alan, hopefully you're still with us. If you're still on the call, Alan, with us, I'm going to have you unmute yourself. Tell us a little bit about the benefit auction business. What are the challenges that you're seeing? I'll give you some ideas that I've learned from these calls, but what are some of your challenges? And let's just talk about it a little bit.
Okay, I'm unmuted, I hope. So let's start on a note of hope. Last weekend, I lost $30,000. Yay! It's tough because the conventions that we're using to do galas and things like that have been so fixed and entrenched that that's what people are doing now. I've seen a slew of people go on and offer the virtual live galas, and I've offered those same things to my clients. My clients and their mindset is, no, we're going to postpone. And of the 5 that canceled, I have postponed or have dates tentatively for 4 of them, and with the other one looking for another date. So that's not been an issue. I applaud the efforts of what the benefit auctioneer specialist designees have been doing, Scott Robertson for one. There's still some flaws. It's not the same animal. And what it really comes down to is auctioneers are becoming more of hosts as opposed to anything else, and just facilitating the process. So if you're inclined to do these sort of things, find yourself some local tech people, AV and audio. Find yourself a good software for doing the back of the end stuff for the taking of the bids and trying to make that. Understand what people are doing by splitting the screen so that you have both a mixture of the host / auctioneer as well as the other issues. Like in my mind, the best one is what your item is up for bid and what it's going for. A lot of the auctioneers have been voicing what it's been going for, but I just say go for it if in fact your clients have a need for it. I think those that would be ideal for it would be your smaller benefits, local schools or things like that. We're heavily dependent on that income coming in at exactly that same time of year. The larger organizations with the deeper pockets probably can weigh it out and wait for it to come on board. But highly recommend getting on and seeing what some of the auctioneers have done. I have not personally done one yet, but would be prepared to do one in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I heard Scott on his call today. He said, charities have 3 options. Number 1, they can cancel. Of course, they can save a bunch of money because they don't have the hotel and all the other expenses, but they also don't have any income. Number 2 was they could postpone and then try to figure out, can we do it in the fall? Can we do it a little bit later? I mean, they still need to raise the money. The question becomes, can they survive for the next 6 months during this time? And number 3, it's, how do you do these virtual galas and put it out there and just figure it out, whether you're using Zoom or you're using another platform that works for you. Those are kind of the three options that he talked about.
And if I can interject one more time, Craig, I think that the basic part of success, or the common part of success in all of these, is make sure your group already has its bidders and buyers nurtured and cultivated prior to the event. Because if you're trying to go out and get new people during this, or trying to share the mission moment and then find money, that's an uphill climb at the gala itself, and even harder to do, I think, online.
Very good. Yeah, very good. Hey, Chris Fisher, good seeing you again, my friend. I haven't seen you for a long time, so glad you can make it on the call today as well. All right, perfect. Anyone else like to unmute themselves and just talk about their experience within some of the benefit auction space? I don't want to shut anybody off, just trying to make sure that we get everybody's thoughts and ideas around this. Anyone else like to speak? Okay, perfect. All right, let's go to the second thing, which is real estate auctions. And I'm glad that, Beth, I'm so glad you're on the phone because I wasn't planning to see you, and I'm so glad you are. So I'm going to ask you, because I watch you on Facebook constantly. You're doing more real estate auctions, household real estate auctions than anybody I've seen. So tell us a little bit about what you're experiencing in the real estate business.
My business took an absolute halt. I'm sitting on a lot of large contracts right now and large advertising budgets that I cannot go live. My sellers put the brakes on a lot of things. So working from home, I have been setting up Zoom calls and marketing myself to brokerage firms and to realtors. So my marketing team designed something, and we did our first as a trial run to see how that would go, and invited realtors in order to give them the tools to teach them how to work virtually from their home. So in Michigan right now, you cannot take on a new listing. You can't show a house. You can't do it. You're a non-essential business in Michigan. In Ohio, I can show a property one-on-one. I can still do business. I'm an essential business. And then of course in Florida, it's wide open right now. So interesting enough, I needed to come home to be able to reinvent myself and to be able to offer realtors and these brokerage firms an alternative of working virtually so that they can make money, because they are absolutely crippled right now. And we are conducting seminars to get them educated on the online auction process. So, the plan is to do virtual open houses with B-roll, something a little better than video content with production, and to be able to hold the properties online and to be able to collaborate and offer them a commission in order to protect them. And we all make money at the end of the day. So we just designed a launch that went out last night to brokerage firms. And so the plan is to do 3 to 4 of these a day next week to some of the larger brokerage firms. And I think that, again, as an auctioneer, we have solutions. We're problem solvers. And that's what they're looking for right now. It's what they don't know that we need to teach them and educate them. So that has been my focus right now. That's my focus on just launching as many meetings as we can, because we all know with the brokerage firms, you may have 20 to 120 agents, but you're only going to capture a very small percentage that's going to feed you. And that all adds up. So that's what we are doing. My personal property business is crazy busy right now. People need cash. Okay, so good. I have more personal property auctions than I probably want, but we're busy. So again, we've had to reinvent ourselves as far as pickup and all of that goes. So if I'm going to apologize up front because you're going to see me disappear, because I have an NAA call at 4:30. And but I will tell you that in regards to the new CARES Act, that NAA is going to be bringing in a CPA that is going to speak specifically to auctioneers on how we can recoup some of these losses and, be able to gain momentum and not have the worry and the stress and the anxiety of our businesses halting and stopping all of a sudden. So that's something to look for. It's not scheduled yet. That's my call at 4:30. And, but that's what I'm doing, and that seems to be going well.
Very good. Yeah, very good. People need cash. So questions for Beth? Anybody can take themselves off of mute if you've got some questions before she has to run.
I don't have a question, but I did participate in one of the presentations. And again, the kudos can't be loud enough for Beth, and always trying to reinvent herself and moving forward. That being said, I want to talk about something I just went through, and some of the angst. For anybody who knows me, I was weaned on an auction company that did exclusively absolute auctions. And I believe in them a lot, had really great successes in the last quarter of last year as well. And I'm coming back from a meeting where I just booked another one. And I have never been more afraid and concerned about my client. Their needs prevailed over all my words of caution. And we're still going forward with an absolute highest bidder regardless of price auction, because I don't use the word absolute, but it's the same thing. It's going to sell whether it brings a price they like or whether it doesn't. And I would be interested to hear some of the concerns that anybody has, or some of the votes of confidence that anybody has in the market. This auction is not going to be until May because I have to deal with crappy personal property first. In this case, I don't mean that as a general rule about personal property. In this case, it just is, and it was contingent on me getting the real estate. So delve in, I delved. So I would just be interested in some other people's insights and hopefully to put me at ease until I pull this off in May.
Beth, we're going to let Shad jump off. So anybody else's thoughts on the absolute auctions, challenges around that, kind of go along with Alan's comments?
Craig, I just had a question, almost like a catch-22 when it comes to these personal property auctions, because we are in a time where it feels like people are trying to save as much money as they can because they don't have income coming in. Is that going to be a challenge with a personal property where all these people are like, I need money, so I need to try to sell my stuff? But the catch-22 is people are thinking, I can't buy anything right now because there are a lot of people that frankly just don't have any income coming in. Is that going to be a challenge for the next couple months?
Alan, I'm going to let you jump on that one. You know personal property.
Yeah, I'm not the best expert here, but I think that it has a correlation to the real estate. I think that there's always going to be buyers at an auction, and I cited to my client that I booked an auction on 9/11 and sold the property 30 days later, and it did just fine. But that had a conclusion, or we thought it had a conclusion, and we could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I've also done personal property auctions in hurricanes because I'm here in Florida, and literally under a hurricane warning, not the actual hurricane. And those have been successful. And I think now with online, your opportunity really exists to expand your audience a lot. So I think there's always going to be buyers. Here is where the auctioneer skills come in. You have to be prudent in talking to your sellers. Your sellers have to have real expectations. And I don't think you want to book any auction that they don't. And if at the end of your presentation, they're still saying, well, you know, I got to get, as you well know, run for the hills, because you're not going to make that client happy, and you can only do what the market is.
If I could share something.
Hey, Chris, welcome.
Hi, sorry I got in here late. My apologies. I know that with the auction hall, we're trying hard to make sure that the auction hall is not considered non-essential. We've stopped doing, or my daughter and ex have stopped doing on-site auctions and have converted over to online. And now they're starting to make noise about considering it non-essential so that you can't even do pickups. You know, so they've been scheduling pickups for the online items. Some states, they're considered essential, auctions are considered essential, and some are considered non-essential. To me, it doesn't make any difference if you're picking up something at a to-go restaurant or you're picking it up at Lowe's. We should be considered essential to be able to liquidate and move it, because what happens is there's only so much room in the warehouses and everything else. So all the pickups have stopped until stuff is sold so they can make more room to put things in there. They just finished doing an online Tuesday, which is normally a walkabout auction. And obviously it didn't do as much as they'd hoped, but it still generated cash, still generated revenue, so they could still make payroll, and did liquidate some of the stuff that was in there. So I know Chris Fisher does some online auctions, and I feel your pain, Alan, in reference to getting having to take the personal property in order to get the real estate. I've got a slew of them right now that I'm trying to figure out how we're going to liquidate it out. I did have success here just recently with a house that was full of caca. It was really in rough shape, and I just told the people, the estate, we're selling it as is with everything else in it, and let it be the buyer's problem. I thought it would hurt the sale. And this was the beginning of the corona, so I don't know that it had anything to do with corona or not, but it did twice what we expected to bring. So there are still people that like that adventure of digging through yuck.
Wow, fantastic.
So I don't know if that helps.
What system are you using, Chris, to schedule your pickups? Are you have you used the
new Genius thing that's come out?
Yeah.
You know, we had over at Dudley's, they have a scheduling thing that they have. they just use in-house. But I just learned about that on the NAA call yesterday, and I've shared that with my daughter because I think that's pretty cool too. You know, doing the real estate and being ahead of the curve with the online process, being part of Transon, I think is going to help all of us, or the people that have been doing it online up to this point, because I think our market is going to start narrowing because a lot of people are going to jump on the online process. So I've got a question to put out there to the group in reference to open houses and virtual tours. How many people do virtual tours, and how are you planning on holding your open houses for the properties you are getting ready to sell?
Go ahead and unmute yourself if you'd like to answer that question.
Okay, so I'll answer it with sounding just like I know what I'm talking about again. So I have not done one yet, but my plans is that I will be doing open houses, and they're going to be scheduled. I am going to hire a professional to do the virtual tours and give it its best bet, its best foot forward, and get people through it that way. But everything is going to have to be scheduled, and I'm not going to allow more than one group in at a time. And when I say group, people who are related to themselves. And I'll never let in more than 10 at a time. And it is going to require that I'm going to bring an extra person to the open houses to monitor it out on the curb level. And when I say an extra person, that may even be security, because I just want things to go smoothly. I did hear of some auctioneer who did a on-site auction where he had people beep their horns or flash their lights and bid from their cars, which I've done before on a charity event, but never on a real estate auction.
Other comments?
Chris, JT or Owl, is what we've set up is if you're following these virtual tours, there's a virtual tour, a 3D tour called a Matterport. We're currently got a company doing the Matterport virtual tours for us, and then we will schedule a in-person open house if that doesn't meet the potential bidders' license.
Thanks, Tommy. And this is Alan again. And I am also going to incorporate something which I've never done in 30 years. And that is I'm going to have an inspection done prior to the auction and just tell people it was done, and it was done by our seller's expense, and y'all be your own judge. So that's just going to be one additional thing, and the only tilt towards representation that I'll be doing.
Okay, anyone else have a question?
This is Buddy Lee. Can y'all hear me okay? We've got a big auction coming up next week. We've got about 50 plus properties in it, kind of scattered all across the southeast. I guess our business model is a little different. We typically have listing agents that we work with because we work with so many financial institutions. So a lot of those properties already have listing agents assigned to them that we incorporate into our process. So, we just basically reached out to all those agents and told them, hey, as far as open houses go, you don't have to do them. It's your call on what you want to do. So when a prospect calls to want to see that property, we refer them to the agent, and the agents are kind of handling that on a case-by-case basis as they see fit. We've tried to do a good job of getting more interior pictures on things where a lot of times you bank on properties, we get to them and we can't get inside of them, because it's on the weekend or something like that. So we just try to kind of work with the agents, getting more information about them, getting more pictures. Seems to be going good right now. I mean, our registrations are actually coming in really strong right now, much stronger than we would anticipate even for a normal scenario without this virus going on. So it's going to be interesting to see next week kind of how that plays out. We did have a live auction weekend before last. Our crowd was off pretty significantly, but as far as the money that was bid, I think the guys with money, people with money, showed up. They bid strong. Didn't seem to impact that much.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll get a first-hand look at the market next week when we get done with this big auction. So.
And tell us again, how many pieces of real estate are you selling?
We got a little over 50 in that auction, I think.
Okay, 50 pieces at one time. That's great.
Yeah, and so it's all online. So, and we've talked with our sellers. We're just kind of staying the course as we normally would at this point. We've added in some provisions into our purchase and sale agreement to address the fact that when we get done with the auction, the courts may be closed. We may not be able to close these properties within a 30-day time frame as normal. So we've had attorneys review our contracts and add in some language to kind of factor in that. Basically, what we've done is add a provision that says, if this goes past 30 days due to the attorneys not being able to close this transaction, that it will extend, both parties agree to extend the contract up to 90 days to allow for closing, and that they'll close on the earliest possible day provided by the closing attorney. So we're taking some steps like that and just to try to address the back end side of things that we could run into.
Sure. Very good. Good. Anyone else like to comment? Let's move on if we don't have any additional comments there. Harry Stamper, I see you're still on and love to get your thoughts around kind of the restaurant business, the commercial side of the auction business. You guys are, still doing lots of business, I know, and you had some cancellations, which is always disappointing, but give us a little insight on what's going on down in South Florida right now. All right.
This is Robert. I work for Harry, so
Perfect, Robert. Go
yes,
ahead.
I can add the same or similar input. We just had a discussion today, and I thought of it when Joseph Mass was talking in this most recent NAA Zoom cast, is that we're really resetting, readjusting, and doing as much as we can to go back to some of what we were already doing and more video marketing. We're going to try and up our Facebook Live presence. And we actually had 2 auctions on the 16th and the 18th that maybe, we look back and say we should have postponed, although our client was with us. And the in-person on-site crowd, and it was a simulcast auction as all of ours are, was actually more than we expected. It was odd. So, and we definitely are gearing up right now and making sure our clients all know the services that we offer, because we will be busy. We do bankruptcy or have done in the past. Business liquidations is what we specialize in. And there's certainly going to be a high volume, unfortunately, of restaurants and other similar businesses going out, which may obviously drop. There goes Harry. May flood the market with certain equipment and drop the per piece value, but the higher volume should be the same. Yes, Harry.
I think I figured it out. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you.
Normally, when it's technology, Robert is sitting next, but we're practicing safe social distancing. Thanks for asking me, Craig. I think this is an unknown. I heard part of Robert's answer, and I would echo what he said. There's going to be a new slew of buyers. Maybe they're bargain hunters. There's going to be a lot of sellers. And this goes from restaurant equipment to office furniture to anything commercial that we handle on a regular basis. I think all of us are going to experience, I hate to use cliches, but the new normal. We're all going to have to change immediately. But our focus now is truly on business development. And I think you mentioned earlier, look for new opportunities. Right now, well, there's a downtime. If there is, we've been busy getting phone calls, moving things back. But if there is a downtime, it's to market yourself. It's to grow your social media presence. It's to look for business development. And one point I want to touch on that I haven't heard yet from anyone is something that a lot of auctioneers do, not all, but appraisals. This is an area where we started a company years back called virtual appraisals. And we've done very little with it. We marketed it only to the bankruptcy trustees in South Florida. But this is something which there is no need to be in someone's house to appraise their assets, because we've set up, and we actually have patent attorneys and a patent pending on some of the processes, a system where you can do an appraisal just by the client, be they a bankrupt debtor, small business owner, the household that Alan's talking about, if he wants to look at their pictures. It's a way they can send the pictures to us. We do a desktop appraisal on it, clarifying that we did not go on site to see it. They're accepted in courts all over the country. And it's a way that we think we can get into people's homes and businesses without being there. Safe social distancing. And this is a program which we'd love to share with others if they're interested in partnering with us, doing business with us, because everyone's talked about auctioneers getting together and helping each other. And if there's no better time to do it, it's now. We need to work with each other. I can't cover the entire state. No one else can. Pick up the phone, pick up an email, contact Robert, contact me. But let's all try to help each other through this, because it's going to go on for a lot longer than we think.
Very good. Thanks, Harry. Any additional comments around commercial sales, business liquidations? Anyone else have some thoughts, ideas, suggestions on ways in which we can help?
I've been doing a lot of commercial appraisals lately, and that's been the bulk of my business. After doing 100 to 200 auctions a year and a few appraisals, and now I'm doing a lot of appraisals and a few auctions. But talking with our bankers, because that's who my core market is at this point in life, they say it may be a little bit slow for the auctions right now as far as trickling down, because right now the banks don't want to be the bad guy in foreclosing on these businesses. But it's going to come to a tipping point that they're going to have to. And they say it's going to get very, very very busy out there. But it'll be down the road. Robert's idea about the virtual appraisal end of it is an excellent thing. We've, ever since, well, the past 2 weeks, it seemed like I was living in airports there for a while, but it's coming. I haven't flown in 2 weeks now, and we're doing a lot of desktops now. We're working off of inventory that the bank has given us. We've been trying to set up people all around the country that can go in and give us photos, and then we'll do the desktop from there. So desktop appraisals in the near future are probably going to be normal. With our company, we've done, in the past 2 weeks, we've done 6 or 7 just desktops. So if you're not an appraiser, it's a great way to make a little bit of extra money right now if sales are down.
Absolutely. Very good.
So in reference to that, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but in reference to that, alternative revenue sources, I know that that's one of the ways that I generate some revenue is to do the personal property appraisals. Is anybody else looking at alternative ways, one, to either liquidate some of the personal property, or two, generate additional revenue? Are there some alternative revenue sources besides doing the appraisals out there?
Go ahead, Harry, I saw Harry put his hand up there, but it came back down. So anyone else, thoughts, comments?
Going back to when I had my auction facility, now it's not good if you're working out of your home like I am now, but when I had the auction facility and I had the space and so forth, it wasn't huge money, but we used to do $2,000 to $3,000 a month in U-Haul rentals. And it had a couple of side benefits in addition to a little bit of money that it made. We used it, because there's, in the estate business especially, there's always, the family always they always want to take something, keep something out of the home. So they would need to rent a U-Haul truck or U-Haul trailer or whatever. We could give them a break in that and, provide additional service to our clients. That was one extra thing. Appraisals has always been, for almost 40 years, has been an important part of our business. It's been huge because we always figured an appraisal, you know, out of three appraisals, you were going to get one auction out of the deal somehow. You know, so appraisals are just gigantic. You just need to know how to write them properly. But sometimes you just got to get creative as to what you can do. You know, if you got big facilities, you can take on additional, you know, opportunities. If you're working out of your house, it might be a little bit tougher.
Other comments, other thoughts? Robert?
Yeah, this is Robert here. Not sure if Harry would have said this, but I know in the past, we used to buy more deals depending on how your business is set up. You may find some clients need quicker cash, you know, getting a payment right upon pickup as opposed to scheduling an auction 2 or 3 weeks out, or waiting for your next consignment auction and then waiting for settlement checks and stuff like that. So I see us possibly buying a few more deals here and there in the near future.
Okay, good. Anyone else like to comment? All right, let's switch over. I put on the agenda just because I feel that the auction business, it is such a great entrepreneurial opportunity. I wanted to talk a little bit about auction schools. And Keith, I don't know if you're on the call today or not, or can you let us know? Guess he's not. If he is, he's on mute. I know Rick said he had talked to him and he was going to try to jump on the call. But just my plug for auction schools, I guess, is you know, boy, talk about being an entrepreneur and a low barrier to entry. Obviously, getting your feet on the ground and getting established is tougher than in some cases. But you know, being able to go to auction school right now during this time, you know, I'd love to see these auction schools go virtual. I don't know if that's going to be possible or not, but I think the auction school business, it could just be phenomenal moving forward. I think that it's, you know, people can that are going to be laid off, that are now going to be unemployed. You know, we've got a huge opportunity for those types of people. And I just wanted to kind of get some thoughts around the auction school business, and was hoping maybe Keith might be on there. Rick, do you know if, have you heard anything from him? Nope, guess not. Okay. What else would we like to talk about? One of the things that I heard on one of the calls earlier today was the fact of reducing expenses. You know, during this time, everybody's got to reduce their expenses down. And one of the things that you can do, if you've got a mortgage on your home, you can call your banker and say, hey, listen, I want to pay interest only, and or whoever's carrying your mortgage. And they'll reduce that thing down just like that. I mean, just like no questions asked, almost. So just another way, if you've got a big mortgage and you need to kind of reduce that thing down a little bit, calling your banker or whoever your mortgage holder is and just saying, hey, I'd like to go to an interest only loan. It can make a huge difference in your monthly payment. So heard lots of other ways in which to reduce expenses, from doing your own windows, your own garbage, your own cleanup, to everything around your own facility if you have it. But I thought that one was a pretty good money saver along those lines. Other comments, thoughts, questions that anybody else has? We're kind of at the top of the hour here. I don't want to cut anybody off, but I want to make sure we get everybody a chance to at least talk about what they'd like to talk about. Any contract auctioneers on the call that would like to talk a little bit about being a contract auctioneer right now and some of your challenges? Okay. Nobody wants to talk about being a contract auctioneer right now. All right. Well,
this is Buddy. Just one more comment. I guess kind of taking some lessons that we learned from the last recession and kind of looking at how that plays into what we're about to face now. I think it's inevitable that we're going to go through a recession, and just hope like heck it's not a depression. But yeah, the last cycle there was about an 18-month delay in when the banks were foreclosing and how everything kind of unraveled before it got to the point where the banks could actually start selling. So, you know, just, I guess for everybody's sake, just kind of know that, you know, there is a lag time in between all of that, particularly in Florida. It takes a long time sometimes to foreclose on the property. So, you know, I guess the best thing, my advice is, you know, continue building relationships with your clients. Is about the best thing you can do right now. It's coming. It's just a matter of when it gets here. And sometimes it takes a little while for it all to unravel, and everybody just kind of needs to be patient and keep building those relationships as strong as they can.
Very good. Well, be an entrepreneur, be a leader, be out in front, market yourself, talk to your advisors that you surround yourself with, keep in constant communication. I can't overemphasize that enough. If people don't know you or know how to get a hold of you, then you're not going to get those phone calls. So you got to be out there. When people have life-changing situations within their family, when somebody passes away, they need to know who to call. So they've got real estate, personal property. Yes, go ahead.
Hey, sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt. I wasn't sure if you could hear me or not. I tried to raise my hand anyways. Just going back to what you were talking about, looking ahead, finding new avenues. Here in Pensacola, a real big key part of revenue income for a lot of lower income families here is our flea market. They live for the flea market. They live to go shop at the flea market. They live to resell at the flea market. I have customers that will buy at my absolute auctions and go sell at the flea market. So with the flea market being closed, we've actually, because we have property in front, right on one of the busiest stretches of Pensacola, and we have a lot of property in the back, we've started making booth tables, 8x4 tables. And I've added a page to my website where people can actually book a table for an entire day, as many tables as they want. If there's more of a demand for it, we'll build more tables, that sort of thing. But at just $15 a pop, it brings more people out front. There's stuff that it draws people in. So that's something that, as long as they can continue to have the flea market shut down here, that's something that I see potentially being a pretty good source to draw people here, but also just to have steady income, because they can book those tables every day, on the weekends, whenever. And it's just something new I'm trying. So we'll see how it does.
See how it works. Well, another lead source. Sure.
So does your market, does the community, as long as you don't have more than 10 people, they don't have a problem with that? They're not fussing about social?
Our community is not, it's affected like everybody else as far as like with the restaurants go. A lot of people are staying indoors. We have not hardly had any traffic so far this weekend, but I anticipate that once this goes on for another week, 2 weeks of not having employment, I've done, I'd say 4 times more buyouts in the past week than what I normally do. Because typically I'll just take things on consignment, but people are wanting the money now. They need the stuff gone now. So like how Robert was talking about that, that's something that I've definitely been doing over the past week. So I'm trying to weigh that out as far as, you know, not buying out too much, because I need to make sure the stuff is still going to be flowing and going out at the same time as it's coming in. So I'm hoping that, you know, with these tables, hopefully that'll pick up, bring more people who didn't already know about me, because I'm new here too. So I also kind of have that I'm also having to deal with too. So.
All right. Make sure if you haven't joined our Facebook page, make sure that you go click on that. Love to have you in our Facebook FAA members Facebook page. Make sure to check in on the FAA website from time to time. Other thoughts, comments before we close?
Yep, I just have one more in reference to the FAA and the NAA. It's been a great resource, and being in the middle of some of these, the NAA has some wonderful calls as well. The one thing that I think that the FAA should follow and share with its members is what the NAA is doing as far as trying to be sure that people that are in the auction business can access some of the funds that are coming through, you know, whether it's to help pay your employees or if it's to help make up for lost business or how that is. So if you, you guys on the FAA board could make sure that because not everybody that's in the FAA belongs to the NAA.
Yep.
So And that would be a great benefit. I know that we're over at Dudley's, they have, a regular payroll of about 9 people that has dropped down to 5 and will soon be dropping even more. They're dropping part-time, and that those are people that live week to week, so they're going to start feeling all of that.
I know one of the things that we're putting up, I think it's on the website as well as on the Facebook group. There's a memo that has been put together to Vice President Mike Pence, and there's some letters that you can send. It's already pre-done. You just have to kind of fill it in. You can send it to I think it's your senators. But anyway, that's going up. If Angela hasn't put it up, it'll be up, I think, by the end of the afternoon today. So maybe that could be helpful as well.
One thing.
Oh, Chris, go ahead.
I know you got your crystal ball now, but what do you think the outlook is in regards to deregulation this year? Or is the Florida House of Representatives and Senate, are they going to be too busy trying to deal with the economy and put maybe some of this stuff on the back burner, or do you think it's going to come back strong?
Oh, great question, Chris. And Don Cotton, are you on, or Angela or Chad? Because I know they've been working on that as a part of our legislative committee. If they're not on, I'm going to give you my best information. I believe that it's all been put on the back burner for this year. It looks like, I think what I've heard is everything has kind of been put on the back burner, and we don't think we're going to see anything going forward. We continue to monitor it every single day. I think that Keith and his group at the Florida Auctioneers Academy, I think they were also very beneficial in helping to lobby everyone in Tallahassee. So I think we got that information about a week ago that everything has kind of been put on hold.
Good.
I know. We were all up there talking to them, and I mean, it's easy to talk, and they all take your conversation, but somebody's got to go vote, and I'm just hopeful. I think we've got it on the sidelines again.
Yeah, that would be good, because it seems to be an ongoing thing. Over the years, starting back in the early 2000s, perhaps. When it first started coming up with deregulation, it seemed like every 3 or 4 years is when it comes on strong. But lately, it seems to be coming on every other year. Yeah. So y'all got your hands full with just that one. I'm hoping that they deal with economics as opposed to, trying to mess us up. And I'd still like to know where the hell our money went out of the recovery fund.
Yeah. I think all that money went right back in the sweep. You could feel that vacuum cleaner sucking that money right out, went right back in the general fund, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Robert, you like to say something? Oh,
I just interjected with the sweeping sound, that's all.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Okay, yeah.
Hey, Craig?
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, this is Frank. I just wanted to just say one thing while everybody's on here. We're all going through trying times right now. But now probably more so than ever would be a great time to reach out to other auctioneers that are not members of the association and get them to get on board. Be part of the solution rather than being out there on your own. I think there's going to be a lot of good training stuff coming up for everybody in the future just by what we're doing even right now. So the more people we can invite to be part of this, the better off we're all going to be.
Thank you, Frank. Amen. I appreciate those words. And we've got to be a healthy organization, and that unfortunately does take members to pay their dues. And when you can pay your dues, we appreciate it. The quicker, the better is always best from a budgeting standpoint and from an expense standpoint. So thank you, Frank. Anything else?
This is Robert. While we're plugging the association, we have narrowed down a date for our conference, and we don't foresee any issues. But like Chris was saying, we don't have a crystal ball. But October 18th to the 20th in Altamont Springs. Same hotel we've done the last 2 years with great experience. So mark the calendars now, October 18th through the 20th.
All right. Very good. All right. Appreciate every one of you.
One final comment, please, Craig.
Yes, Harry, go ahead.
Let's try to all tell at least 2 friends or enemies to come to that FAA conference, because being there and seeing the same old faces is great, but let's get the crowd to be double or triple what it's been.
Perfect. Amen. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and keep the faith and be a positive force in your community. Talk to you all later. Bye.
Thank you, Craig.
You bet.